Hi, I'm Tony McNaboe. Welcome to episode 9 of my show. Look, I know you're not going to get exactly what I told you were going to get, and I figured what better time than Christmas than to show up and ask for everybody's forgiveness. All right, I'm sorry. I told you that I was going to tell this big story and I was going to have this big, heavy fucking idea. Well, you know what? I told the story and I had a big heavy idea, and frankly it took way too fucking long, and it's just I think it's going to appear somewhere, but I'm not going to do it right now. I don't want to do it right now. I'm tired of talking about it, frankly. I'm tired of thinking about it, all right? Here's the short of it. I lost my shit. I lost my mind. I had a little bit of an emotional breakdown. I had a very, very, very bad manic episode. I have struggled with clinical depression since I was about 8 years old, and things got really fucking bad back in September. Like, really bad, dangerously bad, and I took a little trip and I went away by myself and I traveled a little bit and I went on a little soul-searching, walkabout little journey, okay? And that's what the whole thing's about, and someday I'm going to post it all, and I'm probably going to do it elsewhere as like a 5-part mini series, probably under a totally different name, but you'll know all about it because you listen to this show. So don't worry about it when the time comes. If you want to know what happened, and if you think that my story and my thoughts on the subject might help you, which is the only reason I wanted to do it in the first place, then you'll be able to switch over and, go listen to that while we carry on here with some other shit, right? And I don't want to be a bummer. It's fucking Christmas. And I want to have a little bit of fun. 3 weeks. I sat and I worked and I edited and I listened to this shit and I told this story and I talked about these things that I went through and all this stuff. And I realized I got through this. I don't want to spoil it for you, but I lived. And I got through it and it's behind me now. And I feel sort of lately like it's best kept behind me. And it's best just to put it there. And I'm going to put it all together and make this other show out of it eventually. Like I said, 4 or 5 episodes, and it's going to break down a lot of different things. But this isn't the time for it. And you know what? Frankly, this isn't the place for it. I don't want my show to be all fucking melodramatic all the time. I want to have fun and talk about music and talk about funny random shit. And that's what we're going to do, okay? So I'm sorry, I'm a fucking liar, but it's Christmas. And therefore, you have to forgive me. Otherwise, you're a fucking jerk. All right? Good. Because I just want to put this out. It's Christmas. I want to get it out today. Because if I don't get it out today, then I've lost the whole fucking thing again. This happens to me all the time. So I'm not going to spend a bunch of time editing. I'm going to go through it a couple times quickly. I'm going to get rid of as much shit as I can. But it might be a little bit long. And there's not going to be any music and any like little fucking bells and whistles and shit. Okay, we're just going to sit, talk about some stuff together. We're going to spend a little time together on goddamn Christmas. Can we do that? Good. Let's talk about fucking Christmas. Christmas. Man, I'm so sick of this shit. I really am. And I'm way too young to dislike Christmas as much as I do at this point. It's been a slow build for like 15 years. I used to like it, and then right about in the middle of that, I liked it still. There was certain things I liked, but there was other things I'm like, man, this is really a drag about this day. And now I'm just fucking, I'm over the whole thing. I don't want it. I don't need it. I don't like it. And I'm not going to sit here and, I'm not going to steer you down this path and then, you end up surprised in like 15 minutes that you realize that I'm just talking about how much Christmas sucks. I'm going to tell you right now, I fucking hate it. Christmas sucks, and that's what I'm going to talk about. Because I can. And I don't care. So I don't even know where to begin. I hate the fucking obligation to spend money that I don't want to spend on things that aren't going to mean shit. That was a turning point, probably somewhere around 7 or 8 years ago, 10 years ago, when my nieces and nephews were still little, and I bought them things with what little fucking money I had, the little bit of money I had. It was important to buy a gift for the children. I'd buy them something, and they'd open it, and they'd say, cool, thanks, Uncle Tony, and then they'd throw it to the side. It's such a fucking afterthought. And you know, like I'll back that point up, all right, by saying this. Like about 10 years ago, all right, I was watching this Stevie Wonder documentary, a little like mini documentary about the making of songs in the key of life. Probably my favorite record of all time. I've already said that before. I don't need to talk about that. At the end of it, he starts thanking all of the people that helped him with his record, that helped make that fucking body of music. And he said, these people left their families and they left their other interests and all that, and they gave that time to me. And he said, the greatest gift that you can ever give to somebody is your time. And I thought, aha, that's it. That's what I'm gonna, he's so right. And that's what I'm going to give everybody this year for Christmas. So I sent out this email to almost everybody I knew. And I said, hey, you guys, Merry Christmas time. This year, to quote Stevie Wonder, I quoted him, and then I said, so I'm going to be opened between December 20th and 24th, and you can pick an hour or a half hour or 2 hours. I can come over to your house. You can meet me somewhere. You can come over to my place. We can read a book together. We can watch a movie together. We can listen to music together. We can just sit down and get drunk. We can do whatever you want for however long you want to do it. I just need to block out the time so I can schedule everybody in. And I'm just giving time fucking spent with each other, which I actually came to believe and still do believe is a very, very, very valuable thing. And I meant it. And you know how many people responded and booked some time for me? 0. Not a fucking single person. Why? Because it's Christmas and we are conditioned to want things, not time. Wouldn't you know it, Ryan just showed up. Just a surprise drop-in. This is just an unannounced surprise drop-in guest on my show. Ryan Curlis is here. Ryan plays in a band called Chris Ross in the North that I think I've mentioned before. And if I didn't, then you should check them out and you should listen to this song called Every October because it's one of my favorite songs that was ever written. And then there's like a dozen other songs that I just love from Chris Ross in the North. They're great. And then Ryan came and he stole my job and he now plays drums in a band called Armies, who just put out a new record called 2, and you should check that out. Now Ryan comes in as I'm going on this whole tangent after everything I just said, and then he tells me this. Tell me what you just told me.
Just getting ready to go home for Christmas with Nana.
Christmas with Nana, which is what?
Just me hanging out, playing Chinese checkers with my Nana, and eating snacks and having her cheat at Scrabble, probably.
Wow. See, now that's really nice. Did you buy her anything?
Not yet, no.
Are you gonna?
I'm probably just gonna buy the food. I'm probably just gonna bring the food. Flowers. I usually bring flowers.
That's great. Oh. Have you bought any other Christmas presents for people?
Yeah.
You got little nieces and nephews in your life, don't you?
Yeah.
You bought them shit, didn't you?
I bought my niece a book.
Kids don't read books anymore. How old is your niece?
18 months, 19 months.
18 months? What the fuck is she gonna do with a book?
She loves to read books, dude. I babysat last night. She sat and we went through 6 books.
She doesn't read shit. You read books while she sits there. Fucking.
It was this.
You should get her. You want to get her books? Get her books.
Pinecone Pete is not impressed. That's the book that I got.
Sure, great. Shout out to Spose.
Supporting local.
Our friend Ryan. He goes by the name Spose, a local but nationally and world renowned rapper named Spose, Spose. He's great. He's on his job very well, and he does fucking awesome shit. He works his ass off. I don't think I've ever seen anybody work harder than him. And he wrote a children's book called
Pinecone Pete is Not Impressed.
Did you read it?
I did.
What was it about?
Well, there are a couple different themes, but I think that the ending, spoiler alert, is that kind of home is a more special place than a lot of people give it credit to, and you can go away and explore and try some things out, but then, you know, home is really beautiful even if you're bored with it.
Well, speaking of that, I think the fact it's not lost on me the fact that you're going to have Christmas with Nana just to go and hang out with your grandmother. Obviously,
Wait,
the fact that you're just going to hang out by yourself with your grandmother obviously means that you don't have you're not getting laid tonight, and you don't have any love interests in your life, and you're alone.
Wow.
And this is how you spend your time now.
Are you reading notes about this?
And I just want you to know that December 26th is going to be no different for you than December 24th or December 25th. You know, you may as well get used to hanging out with your grandmother, because it's probably about all you're going to get, because you're a fucking loser who is inept at dating and developing relationships with women, and you are sexually awkward, and get used to it. Merry Christmas. Ryan Curlis, everybody. Ryan Curlis of Armies and Chris Ross in the North. Thanks for stopping by, Ryan.
Thanks for having me.
And Merry Christmas. Now, where was I? Oh, yes. Fuck this shit. That's right. And fuck this fucking music. I'm so sick of fucking Christmas music. It's awful. Like the traditional shit that we have to hear year after year after year after year after year. I'm really, really fucking tired of it. It's awful. Okay. And if you like, that's what got me so riled up coming here. Okay. I was just trying to get a cup of coffee, and I was doing that at Dunkin' Donuts. Why was I doing that at Dunkin' Donuts? Sometimes I go to Dunkin' Donuts. Usually I go to Starbucks. And you know what? I don't care. I like consistency. I was on tour for a couple of years with a band called The Deer Hunter, and the guitar player's name was Rob Parr. He was also the tour manager, and he was fucking incredible at doing both things. Rob Parr was the fucking best. But when Rob is home in Ohio, where he's from, Rob works at a coffee shop. And so every morning we'd wake up on the bus, and Rob would leave up front a list of local coffee shops. And then just for me, he'd write, "Tony, you asshole, there's a Starbucks 3 blocks east of here on such and such street." And everybody else would go and get like the local shit, and then I'd get my Starbucks, and they'd give me a bunch of shit. But I like consistency. I can't deal with some local coffee shop fucking up my coffee in the morning, okay? Like, it's an important thing. It starts the day. It sets the tone of everything. And when I go to Starbucks, I know exactly what I'm getting. It's measured off. If you look at the cups with the little lines on the side, it's the exact same amount of ice. It's the exact same amount of fluid. Everything is routine, and I like that. And that's why I go to Starbucks. If people want my service otherwise, make better shit. Give me a bigger cup. That's the big thing with the mom and pop's coffee shops. I'd go to these places locally in town. But the thing is, when I get a large iced coffee, A, it costs $1 more than it does at Starbucks. And B, it's about 6 to 8 ounces less than the venti coffee I get at Starbucks. I can't go and spend $5 on a 12 or 16 ounce cup of coffee. That's a bunch of bullshit. That fucks with me. And you know it. So fuck you for doing it. And I'm not gonna go there and give my business to that shit. Coffee doesn't cost that much. Please. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. And after all the ice, it's about 8 ounces of coffee that I'm actually getting, and you're gonna charge me $5 for it. Fuck this shit. Anyways, so I go to Dunkin' Donuts today because, again, I'm a little surly today. I'm feeling a little touchy, okay? And sometimes when I go to get a cup of coffee, I don't want to talk about how my day's going. And that's what always happens at Starbucks. So the most recent time I go in, I'm in kind of a cruddy mood, okay? And things aren't going great for me. Things just aren't going great that day. Just like everybody else, it's a fucking just a human existential thing. I was having a bad day. I just wanted a cup of coffee. And I went in and I said, I'd like my coffee this night. I ordered my coffee. I'd like a venti caramel iced coffee black. And she goes, yum. And she goes, can I get a name for that? And I was like, oh, fuck. I said, Tony. She goes, how's Tony today? And I just looked at her. I said, no, nope, no. And I put my card in the little chip reader and I completed my transaction. And that was that. I said, thank you. But that was that. Okay, I don't want to talk about how my day's going. I don't want to tell you my name. I don't need to make friends with you. And I don't need to, if I told you how my day was going, it would seriously bum you out and it would be really fucking awkward. So can we just leave that alone? And so some days that's what I like about Dunkin' Donuts, right? Dunkin' Donuts is largely this northeastern chain. It's like spreading out now, but it's largely a northeastern thing. And you know what the thing is about Dunkin' Donuts? They don't give a fuck how your day's going. They barely give a fuck about your order. And I like that sometimes about Dunkin' Donuts. I don't want to deal with that shit. I want to go in and I want to say like a large black coffee and I want to give them $2.87. And then I want them to hand my money back. I don't even need them to say thank you. I'll say thank you to them because I can't help it. But I don't need all the shit. Sometimes I just want a fucking cup of coffee. So there I was at Dunkin' Donuts, not Starbucks. And what comes on? Last Christmas by George Michael. Probably the worst Christmas song. No, it's not the worst Christmas song. I'll get to the worst Christmas song next. All right. But it's a terrible one. And let's talk for a second about George Michael. Okay. And what an asshole George Michael was. I don't care that he's dead. I really don't. I don't care. George Michael was a fucking asshole, and I'll tell you why. What was his first big hit? Like the very first one, the one that launched him. Granted, it wasn't solo, but it still launched him, right? Remember Wake Me Up Before You Go by Wham. That was the first thing that George Michael got to the spotlight from, okay? And what is the premise of this song? Because so many times this is going to be another, okay, here's a new feature on my podcast. I haven't named it yet. Maybe I will, and I'll edit it in. But a new feature where we actually talk about what songs mean, because most of the time people don't even think about what the fucking shit that they're listening to actually means or what it's saying. So let's actually think about this for a second. Wake me up before you go. Here's this person. I'm going to assume that as George Michael sang it, let's just say this is a guy. This guy wants to go dancing this night. And George Michael says, listen, man, whatever you do, wake me up before you go. Because I want to go dancing too. I don't want to miss it. I want to see you dance. I want to dance with you. I don't want to miss this. So listen, it's been a long day. I just need to shut it down for a couple hours. I'm going to take a little nap. Do not fucking leave without me. Whatever you do, don't leave without me. Wake me up before you go. Okay, so then what happens? Then we get, that's what everybody thinks the song is about. It's just two people. They're going to go dancing together. Well, actually, you know what? It's not. It's actually not. Because what happens when we get to the bridge? Come on, baby. Let's not fight. We'll go dancing tomorrow night. Okay? So all of a sudden, it takes this turn. It's cold outside, right? They'll go dancing. We'll stay home instead. So he fucking wakes George Michael up, and then George Michael gets up, starts a fucking fight, says, I don't want to go dancing. And this guy's probably thinking to himself, like, well, what the fuck does that? I had plans to go dancing. And George Michael says, no, you're not going dancing. Neither one of us are going dancing. We're staying home. We'll go dancing another time. What a fucking asshole. You told me to wake you up. You said you wanted to go. I had plans. You said wake you up. You wanted to go. All I did was wake you up. Now I'm standing here in the fucking kitchen. I'm fighting with you. And neither one of us gets to go dancing. I have to sit here and watch some shitty movie with you. Fuck George Michael. And then you know what? Even more. And then what does he do? Then what does he do after that? 2 years go by. Roughly. Thereabouts, okay? What happens next? 2 years go by. A few years go by. And then what happens? George Michael actually does go dancing. Remember that? But on his terms, he decides he feels like going dancing. And then what's he do? He cheats on the fucking guy. I'm never gonna dance again. Guilty feet have got no rhythm. Okay, so within a few years' time, he goes from, I love you, I want to be with you tonight, I want to watch you dance, I want to watch you smile, I don't want to miss it when you hit that high, I want to be there with you, so whatever you do, wake me up before you go. So the guy fucking wakes him up, and George Michael goes, you know what, I don't feel like dancing. The guy says, whoa, 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 wait, what are you talking about? I had plans to go dancing. You just said you wanted to go, I'm just waking you up. No, actually, I don't want to go, and I'm not going, and neither are you. And this guy's to sit around, and then 2 years later, George Michael does go dancing, and he fucking cheats on the guy and makes another song about it. Asshole. George Michael's an asshole, and Last Christmas sucks. Now, while we're talking about your shitty Christmas holiday and your shitty Christmas music, can we talk about the Trans-Siberian Orchestra? And can we talk about why anybody fucking likes this? I don't know how it remains on the radio year after year after year after year. If I can't change it in time on the radio before it gets stuck in my head, I have to be surprised by hearing it in some commercial. You know, the Trans-Siberian Orchestra with the prog rock guitar, right? And it's like, who knew that's like, and it's always on the easy listening station. And it's always on these stations that just play Christmas music. And I never knew that there was such a market for fucking fans of Rush and Dream Theater and these bunch of LARPing fucking nerds to love Christmas music. I always thought LARPers were too busy playing video games and pretending to be a fucking knight in some park somewhere to listen to Christmas music. But no, then I get hit with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. And I'm like, oh, there's a market out here for guys who are way into Coheed and Cambria. And fucking Dream Theater. It's the worst, and they tour and they fill venues at Christmas time. It's crazy. The Trans-Siberian Orchestra, that one song that we always hear, that is the worst part of Christmas. 100% worst part of Christmas is having to hear that shitty fucking prog rock Trans-Siberian Orchestra song. And not only think about how shitty Christmas is, but to think about the shitty bunch of nerds that are sitting around listening to it and probably geeking out and trying to transcribe the fucking guitar licks. God, I hate the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I hate Christmas. Humbug. Fuck this shit. I'm not even done. Let's talk about the fucking little drummer boy. I'm a drummer, and I hate that fucking song. That is, since I was a kid, that has been my least favorite Christmas song. I hate it. It is awful, and it doesn't even have any goddamn drums in it. And it's called The Little Drummer Boy. And that's not all, okay? It's filled with a bunch of shit, a bunch of filler, a bunch of pa-rumpa-pum-pum, pa-rumpa-pum-pum, rumpa-pum-pum, pa-rumpa-pum-pum is 80% of the fucking song. That song goes on for like 5 minutes. You know what it actually says? Here's what it actually says. Come, they told me, a newborn king to see. Our finest gifts we bring to lay before the king, so to honor him when we come. Little baby, I am a poor boy too. I have no gift to bring that's fit to give a king. Shall I play for you on my drum? Mary nodded. The ox and lamb kept time. I played my drum for him. I played my best for him. Then he smiled at me and my drum. That's the whole song. That's the song. That's what it's saying. Now, as if that's not shitty enough, it's not even good English. Come, they told me, a newborn king to see. Our finest gifts we bring to lay before the king, so to honor him when we come. That's not even good English. That's a bunch of shit. This song's lazy, and it's not even a good, realistic story. Forget the whole baby Jesus and the Immaculate Conception and the quote-unquote Virgin Mary and all that shit. Forget all that. Have any of you ever known a little boy who wants to play not even a drum set, but wants to play just a single drum for you? Have you ever just seen a little boy just given like just a snare drum or a tom-tom and a stick to sit and fucking beat on it with like a fucking caveman? Have you ever in your life enjoyed the sound of a little kid just banging on a single drum? Shit, I barely enjoy the sound of, like, it takes a really, 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 really great drummer to get me excited about watching them just play a snare drum. Like, I could watch Buddy Rich just play a snare drum. You know, shit like that. Like, that's exciting. But just a snare drum, that's all. Have you ever been to? Have you ever been to your children's grade school concerts and listened to the drum section playing? It's awful. And you're gonna tell me that this was a gift to the Son of God? When you hit a fucking drum? That sounds terrible. It's awful. And again, they don't even have any fucking drums in the song, and all it is a way to talk about a little drummer and going to see Jesus. They're using me, they're using us. It's appropriating drummers. That fucking shitty song. That's all it does. It's appropriating drummers. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of this shit. I'm sick of the little drummer boy. I'm tired of the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. And I fucking had enough of George Michael and Last Christmas and Wake Me Up Before You Go and Careless Whisper. All of them. Actually, I still like the saxophone part in Careless Whisper. How can you not? It's a classic. I don't care. I'll keep going. There's so many things I don't like about Christmas. I'm just going to keep moving. Watch this. You know what's the least Christmassy thing that all you people do at Christmas? And I mean, I've hated this my whole life. I've always thought this was the most fucked up thing ever. The Yankee swap. The Yankee swap is the worst thing that humans have ever come up with. It is the most selfish, deplorable thing that you can do with the Christmas season, is to have this fucking party where everybody buys some fucking present with nobody in mind. Just buy some random shit. Just go spend some money. Buy something. Okay? Doesn't matter who it's for. There's no thought behind it. It doesn't matter who it's for. You just buy some shit and you bring it. And then what happens is somebody gets a gift that they may like a lot. It might actually be something that they need a lot. Maybe somebody was thoughtful enough to buy like a gift card to like your local pharmacy, Walgreens or Rite Aid or whatever it is. Okay, maybe you've got some prescriptions to fill and that's gonna really help you out a lot. And but the thing is, somebody else goes after you. And guess what? If they want your fucking gift card, they get to take it away from you. And what's even better than that is not only do they take your fucking shit away from you that you got, but they give you something that right in front of the person who gave it to them, they let them know that they don't want it. And they give it to you, who also probably doesn't want it, which probably makes that person feel like shit. And you know what else? You no longer have a fucking gift card. You're thinking about all of this money you're gonna save on your medicine that you need or whatever else. And now you're stuck. You're stuck with a digital alarm clock that looks like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer because Linda thought it would be cute. You have no use for it, and neither did Bob, who took your fucking CVS card. And then you sort of like, everybody sort of notices that Linda's night, you know, because somebody opened her present, which she was all excited about, thought it was so cute, and then somebody opened it and immediately gave it away to somebody else so that they could get the shit that they wanted instead of what Linda got for them. And everybody can kind of like sort of see Linda's night going downhill a little bit. And within 45 minutes, Linda's buried a couple glasses of red wine. Her teeth are stained now, and she's got one eye that's kind of lazy and the other one's more open than the other. And Linda's turning into a fucking train wreck, and she feels awful about herself. And she's probably wishing that she had her money back and that she had gotten something better. And she's so shitty at buying gifts, and she can't keep a relationship together. She can't keep a boyfriend for more than 6 months at a time. And nobody really is sitting at the table. Nobody wants to talk to her, hang out with her. And you're watching Linda's life just unfold in front of you. And it's really, really, really fucking depressing. Why? Yankee swap. Fuck the Yankee swap. I'm sick of that shit too. Fuck that shit. Humbug. About I don't know, 4 days ago, right? I have this radio station that I have like saved as a preset in my car, and it's this Christian station here in Maine. Actually, it's more specifically, it is really a Catholic station. I want to say it's called like The Presence or something like that. I don't know. It's got some name, and so I have that saved. So like some days if I'm trying to take a break from music, and I want to rest my brain a little bit, I don't want to listen to like talk radio or sports or politics or whatever, and so I just want a good laugh, and I listen to that station. And most of the like it really is fucking hilarious most of the time, and I just literally laugh out loud, and it's great fun. But my favorite is on Sundays when they do like the Catholic Mass on the air, and they have the children sing the Hail Marys at the end, and oh my God, it is. I'm just always like these poor kids. It is just, like it takes me back to being a kid and sitting in that fucking place, and like just the fucking joylessness in the Catholic Church is incredible. And I think like being a musician, being somebody that was interested in music that was, like if your thing, as mine was and sort of is, but really was at the time, my thing is like Earth, Wind, and Fire, and Stevie, and Aretha, and Marvin, and like all this old shit, and Herbie Hancock, like, I think if that's your interest, I think it's impossible to remain in the Catholic Church because the music is just so fucking joyless, right? Like here's a couple examples, all right, just to show you what I'm talking about. Like you want to talk about some fucking bangers? Check this out. Here's a short one. Here's one that we did. It went like this. Christ has died, Christ is risen, Christ will come again. Like that's makes you want to jump right out of your fucking seat. Here's a big one. This is one that I always remember, and it's burned inside my brain. This is exactly as we sang it. Check this out. And if you're driving in a car right now, you might want to just pull over, right? Just in case you need to just get out of the car all of a sudden, start jumping up and down, clapping, and So here it goes. You ready? Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Woo! You know what I'm saying? Like I'm so full of fucking joy right now after singing that. I can barely contain it. Okay, so my point being, it is an incredibly joyless place to be, and that's last song, by the way, that is supposed to fill you with the love and the glory of Christ. Anyway, so what happened with me was, like just to show you that I'm not completely without a soul and everything on this day, I'm gonna, we'll rest here for a second. The big thing that happened with me is like I started getting really into gospel music. Once I got out of that place, and it was good timing for me because again I was about 19 by the time I said fuck this shit to that, and it was also about the same time that we started touring like all year long, every year. We'd be out for like 250 days a year, just constant, relentless touring, and that would oftentimes lead through the South, which this was before digital music and all that, so like you had to go out and find like CDs or records or things like that at the store. And so up here, we didn't fucking have any gospel music, like any good shit. You couldn't find it up here. So when we'd go on tour and we'd get in the South, that was one of the things that I liked about the South. One of the few things that I liked about the South at the time. Like, the one thing that sort of like made up for all the other shit about the South that I fucking hate, like us driving around with main plates and, seeing all these fucking trucks with Confederate flag, like everywhere, just Confederate flags and fucking stickers and, and all the people that would say things to us after a show like, y'all aren't bad for a bunch of Yankees and It'd be like, yeah, cool, thanks. And also, by the way, fuck you. And we had we actually had a few contentious moments with some of these people. It was a lot of fun for us actually being down there, and we'd constantly be making fun of those motherfuckers. And especially there's a couple stickers that I really fucking hate, and the biggest one is the one that's like, hey man, it's not hate, it's heritage. Right? That's a sticker down there. It's not hate, it's heritage. Real thing that people have on their cars, and they're like, it's not hate, man, it's heritage. This is our heritage, if you know what I mean. If you know what I mean. And it's like, yep, I do. I get it, man. I know exactly what you fucking mean. You dumb fucking bigoted redneck. I understand. And then there's my favorite one. The South will rise again. We're gonna do it, man. We're gonna rise up again, man. You'll see. You are not gonna do shit, you dumb motherfucker. You fucking lost. This shit is over. We won. Just get over it. Golly, and not to mention, to make it even stupider, do the fucking math, you bunch of fucking idiots. So what? You've got a black population in America of about roughly 15%, I think, thereabouts. Okay, 50% of that black population lives where? In the South. You dumb fucking rednecks. What do you think they're all gonna do when you decide to rise up again, man? Like all the black people, 50% of the black population that lives in the South, they're all just gonna go, oh shit, oh no, honey, them white folks are gonna start fighting again. We better get inside. Wait it out. Hopefully the North wins again. We'll see. South will rise again. So anyway, so it's full of shit like that, okay? And the racism is so rampant, and like it's just so cavalier. And here's the fucked up thing about it too that I've learned down there. And granted, it's different now, I think, as contrary to what some people might want you to believe, we have made quite a bit of progress in this. If nothing else, at the very least, if nothing else, there's still racists and there's still fucking bigots and dumb shits like that. Like that's always going to exist. It's never going to go away, by the way. Like racism, I don't know how there's this sort of like front to end racism. It's every bit as naive, with all due respect. It's every bit as naive as, the whole peace movement, peace on earth, like no war, peace. Peace is so fucking naive. World peace. Are you fucking crazy? There's never going to be world peace, and there's never going to not be racism, because people inherently people don't fucking like each other. That's it. You can't fix that. Humans just are going to find ways to not get along. It's as certain as death that humankind is always going to find some fucking reason to fucking kill each other and fight wars, whether it's money, whether it's, different interests, whether it's just not being able to handle the fact that these people have a completely different ideology than you. They believe in a different God. They believe in some different fucking imaginary book. So you have to walk over there and fucking kill all of them. That's never going away, unfortunately. It's been that way since we started. It'll be that way when we're gone. And, the same goes for racism. People are always going to find something different about somebody and not like it. It's just never going to end. There's always, forever, for the rest of time, there's always going to be some fucking dumb asshole. You can't fix a dumb asshole. That's just a thing, There's dumb people, and then there's assholes, and then there's the mother of them all, then there's the fucking dumb assholes. And dumb assholes are always going to exist. That's what racists are. That's what all of these like really divisive people, bunch of dumb fucking assholes. You can't fix it. And they're going to keep making more dumb assholes, and it's just going to go on forever. It sucks, but we just have to fucking live with it. We have to live with them and then call them out for being assholes when they're being assholes. And then you know what you have to do? What the best way to make the fucking community and the world around you more harmonious? The best way is just to not be a fucking dumb asshole. It's really all you can do. It's the most you can do. It's the best that you can do. Anyway, I'm going to make a note to myself, because this reminds me of a whole entirely different thing that could be its own podcast that I have to tell you about. I'll remind myself to tell you the story someday of the civil war of drinking that took place one fateful night in Knoxville, Tennessee. It was fucking epic, and it involved me and some dumb asshole at a bar called the Black Horse, which its nickname was the Blackout. And I'll explain why all of that stuff happened and what went down. It's a good story, but I can't tell it right now. But while I'm talking about this whole thing, so like to give you an example of like the unabashed and just sort of like, you know, really just casual racism that exists down there, it's totally different than anything else you've seen in the Northeast or anywhere else in the country. It's just like it's so fucking cavalier and casual. So. And it's largely, that was what I was going to say, which is weird. It is largely, you'll find it's the most wealthy of the Southerners who have the most just sort of like disgustingly unapologetic racism. It's really fucking weird. Most of like the blue collar people and things like that, you meet, they're really fucking good people. They all understand that we've all just got to live together, you know? Some of them might even be like, you know, I may not even like those people, but I still have to work with them. I got to get along. We got to get through this fucking life together. So we might as well make the best of it, you know? That's like the best example of it that you get down there. And then the wealthier you get, the more just disgusting it is to just be completely, like I said, just unapologetically racist. So we're staying at this house down there one night in South Carolina. I won't say who. But we're staying with this family, and it's this fucking palatial house. It's a fucking mansion, right? And it is in this incredible like community. It's like sort of like a gated community, and there's about, I don't know, like 8 huge fucking mansions built around the bank of this big man-made lake, this big body of water, you know, not huge, but big enough to throw a boat into and, you know, hang out there and whatever. And you can see all the 8 different mansions, and all of these 8 people all know each other. It's the same access road, you know, it's like a little community, and they're all these rich motherfuckers. And so we're sitting out there on the back porch looking out at the lake, and you know she's telling us about all these houses, and she goes, yeah, and so, you know, so and so lives here and so lives there. And then the most amazing thing happened. She just like so casually just goes, yeah, you know, we really had it pretty good down here. It was all pretty good. And like she explained this in a way that like everybody else that lived around this property, all these other people that own these other houses, like she actually explained it that like, you know, no, everybody's just really bummed about this new neighbor that they've got, you know? And she goes, yeah, well, we had it pretty good until, you know, unfortunately, Hootie moved in, bought that house over there, right? Darius Rucker bought one of those houses, and all these people are just like really bummed about it. Like no one's gonna go there and burn a fucking cross or like burn the house down or anything like that, but they're just like, you know, very casually really bummed out about it, because it's just like, you know, everybody knows each other, and it effectively gives her a black neighbor in this community, you know. And like we're like looking at each other like nobody knew what the fuck to say. We're all like, well, it just came out so casually. Like, it was all pretty good down here until Hootie bought that house over there, and unfortunately, you know, and we're like, okay, we need to change the subject pretty quickly, and we need to sort of like admonish this at the same time. So, you know, one of us just kind of like, well, you know, never know, you might really like him, you know. Heard a lot of good things about that guy. Heard he's a really, really good guy, you know. And she's just like, yeah, well, that's just not how we do things around here. It's like, holy fuck. And, you know, I could run off, like I could go down about like a dozen different instances where that just took place in that sort of just so casually, it just comes out of fucking nowhere. Like it's almost like you're waiting for it down there. You know, you meet somebody that you really like, you're talking to them, and as well as things are going, in the back of your mind, it's like a little ticking thing. It's like a little clock going like, any second now, this person's gonna say something really fucking dumb and racist, and it almost without fail, it happens. So, for instance, there was this other time. Okay, I'm going to use this word because I think that it's in the context of this story. I think it's important to keep it. I think without it, it loses some of its pop. Okay, here's a real fucking thing that happened to us down there. We were playing one night. We played at the Double Door in, there's 2 of them, and I think we were at the one in Charlotte, North Carolina, I believe. Okay, and the Double Door is this sort of legendary old, it was sort of like a blues room actually, but But there's this guy, and he's been watching the whole show, and he really liked us a lot. And he seemed like a great guy. He kept buying us beers. He was buying us drinks. He was talking to us about all this cool shit that he saw there. Like, he saw Clapton play at this place back in the day. Like, all sorts of like legendary shit that came through that room as like these like major artists that, like as they were coming up, they went through that room. It's one of those places, it's like sort of like one of those gateway clubs. And so we're having a great talk with him. And then we find out he lives like 10 miles away, but it's on the way to our hotel where we're going. And we've been hanging out with this guy all night. Seems like a great guy. So we're like, yeah, fuck it, man. Jump in. We'll drop you off. It's right on our way. So there we are. We're driving along. We're listening to some good music with this guy. We're having a good talk about, the area and where we're going next. And I, of course, get to asking him, about how the little town is where our hotel is. Like, if we should be really careful about the van. Like, how's this place? We're staying in such and such place tonight. How's that place? And this guy's been so fucking cool all night, right? And that's just how it is in the South. It's so fucking unabashed. It's really fucking weird. So this guy who's been hanging out with us all night, it seemed like a cool motherfucker. And he's like, yeah, man, that town's all right, man. You guys will be cool there. Everybody's pretty nice there. You just gotta watch out for them niggers, man. You guys will be fine. And like the fucking, like, I think Spencer was driving or something, like immediately the fucking brakes. It literally was like, like that thing that like from a movie, and it just goes like, like the fucking brakes got slammed. Everybody in the van was just like, what the fuck did you say? And immediately we pulled over. I don't know how far we were from this guy's house, but we pulled the van over, opened up the little double doors on the side of the van, and literally like 3 of us just shoved and kicked the guy right out onto the fucking side of the road in the middle of nowhere. And we're all just we're like booing him, and we're like, fuck you, and taking all the trash out of the van and fucking throwing fucking soda bottles at his head and shit, and then just fucking stormed off, left a big pile of dust in his face, and just left him there. And that was a fun moment. And that sort of shit, that was the sort of stuff that happened in the South when we were through there. But back to my point, I started finding a lot of gospel music and shit like that. The South was like a treasure trove of all the stuff that I couldn't find up north where I was from. Like if I got down to Boston, I could usually find some good gospel shit in Boston because there was a Tower Records right next to Berkeley, and you could find just about everything there. So, but being from home where I am, I'd get in the South, and there was record stores that were just like dedicated to gospel music alone. In fact, the first tape I got that I'll tell you about, I'll run down some gospel things for you guys. All right. We were playing in Charleston, South Carolina at the Music Farm, which is a fucking awesome room down there. I believe it still exists. And right behind it, which hopefully still exists, there was this incredible fucking soul food joint. And I think it was called Alice's. I want to say it was Alice's, but I'm not positive about that. But so, you'd go over there after sound check and have good food before you play and all that. And I'm sitting over there one day, I'm just getting down on some macaroni and cheese and some chicken. And I look across the street, and there's literally this gospel record store across the street. And I'm like, man, this is fucking awesome. So I go over there, and that was the night I got my first, like, really, really hooked type shit. And the first record I got that really sunk me into it was by Kirk Franklin. It's called God's Property. Now, that sometimes gets listed under God's Property. It sometimes gets listed under Kirk Franklin. All right. But all I'll tell you about it is go find it. And that record is basically, in my mind, that record is the gold standard of gospel music. I mean, that record set a whole entire new bar. And Kirk Franklin's done a lot of great shit. Kirk Franklin's a great writer and a great producer. And he's made a lot of great records. But that particular one, he commissioned the Dallas Mass Choir to do that record with him. Now, for those of you who are into stuff like, like Lettuce and Snarky Puppy and shit like that, these are all going to be things that you might want to check out. You might be really into them. For example, this was like so many years ago. I don't remember, at least like 15 maybe. But that was my first time that I ever heard Spud Seawright, the drummer from Snarky Puppy. He was sort of like the music director of the Dallas Mass Choir. So he was kind of like all involved with that record, and the drumming is fucking incredible. And here's the thing that's really tough to find in gospel music. Like, you've really got to dig around for it. The production was like all analog shit. It was all real. You know, they were using like clavinets and Rhodes pianos and Hammond organs. It wasn't like synthesizers. And biggest of all, the horn section was real horns. That's my biggest gripe with gospel music. It's really hard to find shit that doesn't have synth horns. And synth horns are like the corniest sounding shit in the world, but it's all over gospel music for whatever reason. But this had like everything was real and the songs were incredible. The singing was great. I would suggest if you go check it out, you're going to want to skip right past the first song, which is called Stomp. And it's also the last song. But the difference is the last song, Stomp, is fucking great. But the first one, this was in the age of like big radio hits, and Kirk Franklin was really trying to cross over with this record into like the urban like pop market and stuff like that. So they had this song and they did this remix, and it was all this pop remix, and fucking Salt and Pepper were on it, which is a terrible idea. And so skip the first version of Stomp, which is the first song on the record, and just move along. Don't let that be your first impression, because that record fucking rules. And so that got me into all this other shit. And so traveling around the South was basically just me like mining for great shit to find. And I did all the work for you, so you don't have to. So God's Property being like the original gold standard of stuff. Well, I think the current standard, even though they haven't put out a record for a few years, in my mind, the best choir, the best writing, the best band, the best production right now happening in gospel music is this group called New Direction. New Direction's got like 5 or 6 records out. You can't really go wrong with any of them, except the first one, which is self-titled. It's got like a pink cover. You're gonna want to stay away from that one. That one's just not that great. But then the one that followed that was this record called Get Your Praise On. And that record fucking rules. The first 2 songs called I Came to Jesus is the first song, and then New Revelation is the second song. Both those songs are killing. And then, like a few records later, they had another record, something with praise in the title, and the first song on that was also I Came to Jesus, but it was like a new updated live version. That song is so fucking burning. It's incredible. That's probably one of my very favorite gospel performances ever, from the choir to the drummer to the band to everything. It's ridiculous. And again, like if you're into shit like Lettuce or Snarky Puppy and stuff from that genre, then you're going to really like all this stuff. You're going to want to check it out. So find some New Direction, you know, like Spud Seawright, their music director is their drummer. And so they're like, New Direction is basically Percy Gray Sr. and Percy Gray Jr. And then, you know, you check that out, you Google them, you find out other stuff that they played on, other stuff that they wrote, and it's fun. And let's see another one that is, I think I've talked about before, this woman, Kim Burrell, who is just like this superhuman singer. But if you can find it, it's out of print, but I believe you can still find it on YouTube. But if you can check out Kim Burrell live, that record is one of the most incredible things that a group of people have ever done in one room, from her singing to the band. And in fact, the drummer on it, one of the drummers on it, is this dude named Charles Haynes. Speaking of Lettuce, you know, like with our band, with Rustic, like Zoidus played sax in Rustic. And I went to high school with Zoidus and kind of brought him along. And then when Zoidus went to college, he met all the guys that became Lettuce. They came out of Berkeley College. So coming up with Rustic, we were always playing with Lettuce, and we were playing with Soul Live and all those bands. And there were certain nights when Deitch couldn't make the gig. Adam Deitch, as much as I love his drumming, as much as I love him, there were certain nights where he couldn't make the gig, and this dude, Charles Haynes, would come instead. And I fucking used to love it when Charlie came to play, and it was the best thing to watch before we played, was to just sit behind him and watch that dude play. That he hits so fucking hard. His pocket is ridiculous. And so Charles Haynes is all over that Kim Burrell record, and you should go find some shit from Charles Haynes on YouTube too. He's incredible. Now a little mellower stuff if you wanted to check it out. There's this group called Commissioned. The reason I bring this up, they have this one great album. Their production was sort of wacky. All right, but they have this one live album. It's a double CD called The Commissioned Reunion Live, and there's a lot of shit to get into on that. And if you find yourself liking it, the good thing about Commissioned is that like all those guys basically went off to have some really pretty decent solo careers, right? So if you start to like some of the stuff from Commissioned, then you can go and find some Fred Hammond stuff and some Marvin Sapp stuff. Both of those guys have done some cool shit. And Marcus Cole, in fact, Marcus Cole was kind of my favorite one from it. And there's this song that I would recommend, might not be for everybody, all right? But this one song from that record called No Ordinary Love. And most of all, if you can find the video of it because they did a DVD for that. So if you can find the video of that on YouTube, the live version of No Ordinary Love, something really cool happens on that. That used to be like really moving and meaningful for me when I was into all that shit. And that song, it's long and it's definitely a slow build. All right. But about halfway through it, they start kind of handing things around. Right when they get to the part of, they start singing The Ordinary Just Won't Do, I Need a Love That's Pure and True. When all that starts happening and the song starts building, they start kind of handing the mic around and Marvin Sapp goes off. And then Marcus Cole gets the mic and Marcus Cole goes way, way deep and, you know, like gets what we call, he gets the spirit, you know, it kind of overtakes you. And so it's neat to watch all these guys kind of get moved at the same time with the spirit and with each other and different expressions and different ways that guys are reacting to the whole thing is kind of neat. And it's also, it's like I said, the second half of that song is like really moving, powerful, killing shit. So now again, Marcus Cole, I loved him, but the only problem was Marcus Cole also went solo, and Marcus Cole, well, he did make his first record. It was called Chillin' Up in Heaven. And I'm not gonna lie, that he lost a couple points with me when he did that, and it wasn't good. But I still like Marcus Cole a lot. All right. Last of all, there's this really cool shit. This guy named James Hall. All right. Go find some shit from James Hall and Worship and Praise, it's called. What I like about James Hall is those guys don't sound like any gospel shit that I've ever heard. I would often refer to James Hall and Worship and Praise as I would tell people it's like Fishbone gospel, right? It's super funky. It's super like, you know, up, but it's also really fucking weird. Their chord changes are really weird. And most unique to them is they're the only choir I've ever heard, and I've listened to a lot of them. I've heard choirs do it before in places, but the choir, Worship and Praise, James Hall's choir, they are constantly singing in a really, really thick vibrato. And it's fucking cool as hell. The reason it doesn't happen very often is because it's really hard to do, to get, you know, 30 people to match, you know, the ups and downs of their vibrato at the same time. You don't hear people that are able to do that very often. And then in terms of like some pop music and some duet stuff, like the one record I've heard where two people match their voices like that so incredibly beautifully was that original Donny Hathaway and Roberta Flack record. That's a classic. You have to get your hands on that no matter what you're into. That album rules, but the way they sing together is incredible. They literally match their vibrato throughout the whole record, and it's fucking beautiful. So James Hall and Worship and Praise kind of do that. The only difference is there's like 30 of them singing, and it's a super powerful sounding choir. So there's like 5 things. See, I'm not a total asshole on Christmas. I'm giving you some gospel music to listen to. You know, go listen to people sing about Jesus if you want. You'll like it. Now, how'd I get here? Yes, this radio station. So there I am, I'm driving along, I'm listening to this really hilarious Catholic radio station, and they announced that they're going to play the original radio broadcast of Scrooge. You know, like those shows that are like, they were done back before television, and they would be like, you know, these like mysteries or detective shows, or like old Twilight Zone episodes that were voiced over for radio and sound effects and all that stuff. I really like listening to that shit a lot, actually. And so they're going to play the original sort of like story of Scrooge. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to stick around. I'm going to check this out, because of all the years of my life, this may be the one where I really want to revisit this story, and I want to check out what this Scrooge guy's all about, because I might have a thing or two in common with him. So there I am listening, and sure enough, I'm like halfway through, right? And the ghost of Christmas past has shown him his childhood, which was mostly pretty unhappy and lonely. And I'm thinking, okay, so far so good. That checks out. And then it gets to Christmas present, and he's shown these parties, these rooms full of people who are so in love with each other, and they're laughing and they're together and they're all so fucking happy. And he notices that he's not present in any of it. And then I'm like, wow, this guy's reading my mail. I totally relate to this guy. especially that part, because here I am on Christmas. And so anyway, after that, they move along, and then frankly, for me, the whole second half of the story, they kind of lost me when they got to the part about the cute little crippled boy, and then Scrooge has a change of heart, and he doesn't, they sends this big turkey, and they all have this wonderful feast, and that part I really didn't need, to be honest with you. That part didn't appeal to me very much. But I'll tell you who I liked a lot in that story. I'll tell you who I liked a lot was fucking Bob Cratchit. Okay? And if it were up to me, the story of Scrooge could have been a lot shorter, and it should have ended a long time ago. And here's how the story could have gone and should have gone in my mind. Once upon a time, there was a guy named Scrooge. Scrooge was an asshole. Scrooge fucking hated Christmas. There was also another guy named Bob Cratchit. Bob Cratchit worked for Scrooge, and Bob Cratchit needed that work for Scrooge because Scrooge paid him pretty well, and Bob Cratchit had a crippled boy, and Bob Cratchit had to make money. Well, Scrooge wanted Bob Cratchit to work on Christmas Day, so Bob Cratchit went to work on Christmas Day. The end. Now that, I think, would be a nice story to tell the children in America today. You see, Bob Cratchit has two choices. Bob Cratchit can decide he doesn't want to work on Christmas Day, and he can go find another fucking job that probably doesn't pay him as much, probably doesn't meet his means to the same degree. Or Bob Cratchit can get up in the morning, he can get dressed, and he can go to fucking work. And he can keep his job and make money. And then his job's not going to last all day. Eventually he gets to go home and see his little boy Tim and have some fucking soup. And you know what they get? They get to be together. They get to look at each other in the eye and share a meal together and be together. And then they have some soup with fucking potatoes and water, and that's it. They tell each other they love each other, and they go to bed. Merry Christmas. That's reality. This pie in the sky, fucking, fairy tale shit. Scrooge has a change of heart. I'll send them the biggest turkey they've ever seen, and I won't even sign my name. They'll never know who sent it, right? And they get this big fucking turkey that's supposed to be the size of a bear or something, and then they have this big feast, and it's happily ever after. Fuck that shit. Fuck this shit. Humbug. Bob fucking Cratchit, right? Just teaching us that sometimes you have to do shit that you don't want to do. And that's how you fucking survive. Like, here I am. I'm working on Christmas Day. Now, I know the brunt of this whole podcast was done last night on Christmas Eve. I really wanted to finish it by last night and post it last night for Christmas Eve. But what happened, my brothers found me. My family was getting together a couple miles away from here. I tried to avoid them. I tried to dodge the whole thing. They knew where I was, and my brother Michael came here and he found me and he took me away, and I had to go and spend a couple hours with my family for Christmas Eve. And so here I am on Christmas Day. This is my Christmas. I got up this morning. I came here to try to finish this podcast so that I can give it to you today and I can put it out. But just to close things here, to start wrapping things up, now, like I said, I would have liked to have worked through the night, but I had to go and do this, and it wasn't all bad. I mostly had a pretty nice visit, but the same shit happens that always happens with me. I can't help it. This is why I don't go to gatherings. This is why I don't get invited to gatherings. This is why I prefer to stay away from things now. And the fact is, like I've said it before, I can't help myself. I go too far. I fuck something up. I was just talking to my friend Mikey on the phone, who I used to live with in LA. I haven't spoken to him in a while. We were having a nice conversation, and I said, we're talking about Christmas and how I'm trying to ignore it and pretend it's not happening, and how I'm trying to sort of, keep to myself, for everybody's sake. And he said something really nice to me. That sort of warmed my heart, and I think his exact words were something like, "Well, Tony, like don't fight it. It's what you do. You take people's dreams and hopes, and oftentimes simply their happiness, and you crumple it up like a piece of paper right in front of them, and then you throw it at their face." And he said, "This is a true story," but he said, And I just want you to know that I love you in spite of it. And that was so nice. That was the best thing I've heard this Christmas so far. It really made me feel nice. And I said to him, that's what I established this a short time ago. This is why I kind of avoid these things, is because it is what I've got. It's what I've been given. It's my asset. And you need to establish those things in your life. And if you've got something that you're good at, you've got to fucking go with it. Otherwise, you'll just die of unhappiness. And that's what I'm good at. And so if given the chance, if forced into a situation, like I said, I don't think I'll voluntarily go and be a part of gatherings and things like that anymore. But if I'm forced into it, then I'm going to go, and whatever happens, happens. And I'll try, I always try not to, but I just do. It happens, And last night was no different. Christmas Eve with my family. And about a week ago, I don't think I can tell this story just yet. I'm not sure I ever will be able to tell this story. It's going to depend on some conversations with some other people. But, about a week ago, the Saturday before Christmas, no, this was the 15th. I actually managed to ruin Christmas for 1,200 people at one time. And once, there's this group, and they have this Christmas show every year. It's at the State Theater. It's a big night, and they invite me as a guest, and I have this sort of alter ego that I pull out for it, and it's this character called Anthony Maurice, and it's this character of like this 65-year-old man who's a washed up old like crooner, never really made it, and I shave male pattern baldness into my head and grow a mustache and wear the absolute shittiest, poorest looking fucking Salvation Army blazers and pants that I can find. It's really a whole rock bottom act. I mean, you might think I'm kidding. I'm not. So basically, you can find it on YouTube. Okay, I've got like 3 or 4 videos from years ago. This Christmas concert I did on my YouTube channel. Every Christmas I do this show with this character Anthony Maurice, and it used to be a lot of fun, and now I've just gone too far with it and I fucked it all up. But anyway, you can find some older shit on my YouTube page, which is TMacnabo 100. And there's actually some footage of Anthony Maurice, and you can see for yourself. That'll save us some time in explaining all of this to you. I'd recommend Christmas in Hollis. That was pretty hot. All right, so there's that. And I went and I had a funny idea. It always starts with some fucking funny idea, something that I think is so funny. And so I did this thing. It was like a big crowd at this whole show, a bunch of Christmas music, a bunch of nice guests singing nice songs. And I got out there and did some shit that I literally silenced 1,200 people. I've never been able to do that before. I like doing comedic shit, and I like pushing the boundaries of awkwardness and really, really pressing people to feel very uncomfortable, but still ride the line of humor with it at the same time. It's very interesting to me to try to establish that line. And I've never been this far before. And this number that I was doing ended, and again, maybe I'll be able to tell the story in the next couple episodes, but I don't know. The song ended, silence. 1,200 people, silent. Nobody was laughing. Nobody was cheering. Nobody was doing anything. It was silence. The band was looking around like, what the fuck did you just do? And it was very awkward. And I've ruined a good time for, half dozen people or a dozen people. I've done that hundreds of times in my life. I've just ruined a good time. That's nothing. But to have been able to have ruined Christmas for not just like a few people, but for 1,200 people in one swoop, like I have felt a mixture. I've felt half of me has really felt bad about it this week, like really guilty and shameful and regretful. Then there's this other half that really feels like I accomplished something. Like I found a new place. I found a new gear that I didn't know that I had, and but it was largely at the cost of other people who I care about and love a lot. So I don't feel good about it. but I still managed to do it. And so on that same note, you know, my family, they've known me my whole life, so they know what to expect. So there I was last night. I had to go over and spend some time with my family, and all my nieces were there, and my nephew, and my mom and my dad and my brothers, and I love my nieces and my nephew, but I've got four nieces. Really, I've got three biological nieces, and now this new niece that is sort of like married into my family for the most part. And there we were sitting at this table, and it was me and my father and my three biological nieces, who are Morgan, the oldest. I want to say Morgan's 22 now, and then I've got Braden, and Braden is, I think, 14. And then I've got Olive. Olive is 12. And then there's this new one, my brother's girl's daughter, who I guess makes her my step niece or my niece-in-law or something. She's my niece. I think of her as my niece. I love her. I love my brother's girl. And so her little girl is named Charlie. And I think Charlie, I want to say Charlie is about 8. And she's so full of piss and vinegar, that one. Like, she is a fucking firecracker, and she's adorable, and I love her. But here we were, my three biological nieces, my father, and I, sitting at the dinner table after everybody's left. So again, Morgan, 22. We got a 22-year-old, we've got a 14-year-old, and we've got a 12-year-old. So why not talk about climate change? That seems like a perfect idea. So we're in this thing pretty deeply, and you know, I'm very careful all the time, and I always will be very careful all the time too. Like, I'm not going to give like political leanings, and I'm not going to address a lot of those things and that's largely because for a lot of it, believe it or not, I really stand in the center of most things that are going on right now. And I think I've made it clear how I feel about Donald Trump and how I feel about Hillary Clinton. I don't think I need to get into any of that, okay? But we're in this discussion about climate change, and me, I'm just kind of listening. And then Charlie, the little, I think, like I said, I think she's like 8 or 9 years old. Charlie comes running through the room, and she just shouts out something about Trump. And at this point, either her mother or my brother was at the table with us. I don't remember exactly which one, but one of them was there. And I said, see, how does Charlie know anything about Donald Trump? She's like 8. I didn't know shit about what was going on in politics when I was 8 years old. I was playing. And all of these children nowadays that are way too young are being given this information and being given these really difficult themes. These themes that we as a society, as a community, as a culture of adults in America, we can't even get our heads around this and understand where everybody's standing, and all these divisive, polarizing fucking views and really dark themes. They are difficult for all of us as adults. And I don't understand this idea that everybody feels like they need to explain it to their children. I don't think children need to know shit about any of it. But anyway, so I say, well, you know, I make that point in so many words, not quite like that, but why does she, you know, I don't think Charlie needs to talk about Donald Trump, and this Charlie can talk about whatever she wants to talk about. And I said, so we're going to have an adult conversation with Charlie, with an 8-year-old, right? And this isn't angry. This is all just, we're actually, that's how our family does things. We can debate things and discuss things without it actually being a fight, you know? So we're talking, and I said, we're going to really have this adult conversation, and these adult themes that Charlie should know about. She's going to participate, like Charlie. And so finally, again, it was said, like, Charlie can talk about whatever she wants. She's going to be in this. And I said, okay, fine. Well, if that's the case, I think Charlie should know a couple things. I said, Charlie, sit down. Listen, Santa Claus isn't real. And everybody goes, what the fuck are you crazy? And my youngest niece, Olive, she like hit me in the arm, but she was sort of laughing at the same time, but she hit me like, what are you doing? And I don't think like... So I told an 8-year-old that Santa wasn't real last night for Christmas Eve. And the good thing was, like, I don't think Charlie took it as like a literal thing from me. Like, she knows me well enough to like think that I'm having a sense of humor. And she actually had a great comeback for me, which her comeback was, you're not real, which I really liked. She actually earned a lot of my respect with that, because I love that comeback. I like to use that in a lot of discussions when your back's against the wall and you don't have a leg to stand on in an argument, you know? That's a great one to go to. It shuts everything down. It's what I like to call an ender, you know? Like, Tony, you're drunk. And you say, you're drunk. You know, no one really, people usually just shake their heads and drop the subject. It's great. So she comes back at that with me. And so it didn't, like, I didn't actually ruin Christmas for her. I'll be honest with you, if I had, I mean, I don't know, I wouldn't have minded it. My point was, and I think my point was made very clearly, if you're going to know all these other adult things, then if you're going to understand these things and you're going to get this peek into the darkness of adulthood and the darkness of the fucking world that actually exists around you instead of being guarded from it and sheltered from it as a child, well, let me bring you up to speed on a couple other things while we're at it. Santa Claus, fake. So other than that, you know, then everything went along pretty well. We had a nice discussion. I got a glimpse into Brayden's, you know, she's getting to be a middle-aged teenager. She's getting older and she's so smart. I tried to back her into a couple corners. I tried to catch her on some things and I actually wasn't able to. And very proud of how free-thinking and strong-minded and how bright she was. It was a nice family conversation about politics and climate change. It was wonderful. So that leaves me here today, and it's Christmas. And now it's like early afternoon Christmas, and this is how I spent my whole morning, and this is how I spent my whole day. And frankly, I'd like to get this out to you today. And I'd also like to do some other shit. I need to move over and work on some music. There's one particular song that I want to have done by the time I go to sleep tonight. So I'm going to move over and do all those things now. And I'm going to try to enjoy my Christmas, have a couple of beers, you know, albeit by myself, but I don't care. Whatever. I don't care. And so that's what I'm going to do. All right. So I'm going to like now just sort of like quickly wrap this up because I think I'm sort of in the clear now. And I'm not such a dink that I'm going to leave here without saying this. I don't want to say it, but I'm going to. I should. Okay. So what I want to tell you guys is I want to say Merry Christmas. And I hope that you all have a wonderful time. I hope you've had a wonderful couple days with your family. I hope you're surrounded by all the people that you want to be surrounded with. I hope that you love all of them very much. I hope they all love you back very much. I hope you get everything that you've ever wished for. And I mean that. And I also hope that some of you shit your pants accidentally today. And I mean that too, truly from the bottom of my heart. And also, just one last time, I just want to remind you, fuck this shit. And I just really want to say humbug. Okay? Remember, please, to take care of yourselves and to take care of each other. We're all that we've got. And none of us are here forever. So remember that. And if there's someone who you love that's near you today or tomorrow, doesn't even have to be Christmas, just anytime, make sure you give them a hug. Make sure you tell them that you love them. Because you never fucking know. Okay? I hope this has made all of your Christmases better. I know it's made mine better, and that's all that I care about. And the rest of you can fend for yourselves. Fuck it. I'm just kidding. I hope you're all well, and stay well until the next time, okay? And until the next time, I'll talk with you soon. Merry Christmas, everybody. God bless us, everyone. I don't mean that, actually, but, you know, something bless us, everyone. Oh, well, I should go. All right. Goodbye. Humbug.